I'm obsessed with Vivrel. This is like another one of those companies where I feel very connected to it. I feel like
you're a founder.
I've been a part of their growth, even though, I haven't at all. Here it is. This is what it is. It is so genius. Why would anyone spend thousands of dollars on a purse that they're going to get sick of? It doesn't actually even make sense.
I agree.
So Vivrel it's the first of its kind luxury accessories members only club. Mm-hmm. It is providing members access to borrow designer handbags, jewelry, watches, diamonds for $45 a month. That is where your membership starts. That's the most popular tier. It's the Classique tier.
Oh, Classique.
That's actually the most popular one. I'm sorry, is the Classique tier for $119 a month. Now is a great time to sign up, June, in fact, because it is filled with the biggest drops ever. These drops are including $1 million worth of inventory weekly. You've got the brands like Hermes, Fendi, Saint Laurent, Dior, all the things. All you have to do is use code Foster to get 30% off your first month of membership. Here's what I want to say.
Can I speak
this
for
is
a second?
Great gift.
I want to speak for something. Okay, first of all, you're right. It is a great gift. Okay, feel free to gift it to me. The second thing is, if you love designer bags but can't afford them, this is what you do. And then you have designer bags.
No, you don't understand.
They're real.
They have everything. I am carrying around like the chicest bags that I've literally, it's like a, very reasonable membership. People think I own them. I don't.
So you also don't tell them that you don't own them. I'm one of those people where I bring like an evening black Prada bag to a daytime brunch or to a daytime wedding because I don't have bags for different occasions.
Yeah, that's why this company is so amazing.
It's perfect for like going to a wedding in the summer.
Yeah, that Chanel grass tote thing, you'll have that next time.
Go to vivrel.com and apply for a membership today using the code Foster for 30% off 1 month of membership. The code will also allow you to skip the Vivrel waitlist. That's vivrelle.com. Use the code Foster for 30% off 1 month of membership.
What do we need to add into the human body that's been part of anthropology and evolution? As you can see, that's a big theme that has made us healthy for millions of years. It's basic nutrition that we're not getting consistently.
Do you guys think you can get everything from food? You don't even need supplements?
No, I don't believe that.
Okay, you don't believe that.
No, I don't believe it because the studies don't show that. It's not that I don't believe it even. It's actually that the studies show we're deficient in vitamin D and magnesium.
Welcome, new people. You should know that we are never prepared. We are always wearing sweats. We're never wearing makeup.
I would almost consider myself the MC of this podcast. I am the narrator.
So welcome. We hope you enjoy this.
I would say this is the closest that you're ever going to get to us discussing Erin's non-toxic.
No, I think we'll do it
chat.
as much as possible.
No, I know, but we are toxing all things to
We're toxing?
We are talking all things non-toxic with the non-toxic expert, Dr. Aly Cohen. You guys, she is a board certified rheumatologist and integrative medicine physician. We're talking environmental health. We're talking foods. We're talking cookware. We're talking personal stuff. We're talking a lot.
We are. And what I like about her a lot is that she is fact-based, science-backed. She only talks about things that have a lot of data around them. So you cannot say that this is, loosey-goosey, silly-billy stuff. This is the real deal. She's a real doctor. And she has a book that she wrote called Detoxify, the Everyday Toxins Harming Your Immune System and How to Defend Against Them. And she also is like, look, I dye my hair, pick and choose.
We are going to help you make the easy switches that you can to your daily routine to just live a little bit more of that non-toxic life.
Yeah.
Okay, enjoy.
Stay tuned. It'll save your life. Aly, this is, I don't know if this is my love language on a level that it's my obsession. It's my passion. If I could just live my full life hunting down toxic companies and exposing them, changing legislation, if I finding clean makeup brands, that's all I would do with my life because it's my passion.
Well, that's my life. So you could live vicariously, but I can tell you it's not always shiny. So,
sure.
It's a battle, especially when you work with the researchers who really get into this down and dirty.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that you guys I sit a little bit, of course, I'm trying to find ways to be less toxic, more natural. I'm thinking more and more about the food I eat more than ever. But if I'm being honest, it's only now starting to occur to me that the moisturizers I use, the toners, Whereas before I was kind of like, I don't give a shit what's in them. If they work, they work. If they take away fine lines and all the things, I'm going to use it no matter what. You don't really process the way that topical products go into your skin. It's just, this is an ever evolving sort of conversation. But
I was just going to say, to start off professionally, Aly, can you just give us a rundown, who you are, what you do for a living, how you got here?
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate your intro. And yes, just to set, I guess, the record straight in terms of the material I'm about to spew to you. I'm a rheumatologist, which is a specialist off of internal medicine, which studies the immune system, autoimmune diseases, immune disorders, anything immune related, but a lot of other stuff. And I've been doing this for 22 years here in Princeton, New Jersey. But I also was so, I guess, disheartened by the fact that it was, Western medicine was sort of limited to just pharmacologic choices and therapies that I ended up doing a fellowship for 2 years in what's called integrative medicine with Dr. Andrew Weil, who you may or may not recognize, but he's just sort of the world-renowned integrative medicine. He's 83 years old, what have you. And he started this. And it's like, diet, nutrition, holistic ways of looking at health and giving you tools other than pharmacological choices. And then I stumbled into environmental health, which is how chemicals, among other things, radiation, stress, sleep, light, noise pollution, how the world affects human health is called environmental health. And I stumbled into that because my dog became really sick about 15 years ago. So when I had a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old and I was at a fellowship and I was like doing my thing, the dog became sick, found out that he had something called autoimmune hepatitis, which is so unusual in dogs. And I spent literally was mind blown that after looking into his water, his food, his red plastic toy, his tick and flea stuff, I was really observing and looking at how environment affects him, but I was blown away by what lack of regulation is in the human product market for the US. So that's how it all kind of merged until this moment.
Wow.
I don't know. There's a couple things happening for me, which is I recently, and look, I don't know if I'll keep this in. I think I will. I hope I will, but I need to talk to my daughter. I have a 14-year-old daughter. Long story short, she was just diagnosed with juvenile arthritis. So, which is an autoimmune disease. It's been a couple years of trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Started a couple years ago. She had a swollen foot. We took her to the best surgeon, the best foot doctor, thinking it's an injury. We basically spent a year and a half. She was in a cast. I mean, these doctors who are the most renowned, the most incredible, not one of them said, let's look a little further. Not one of them said, it's weird the swelling's not going down. Why don't we look at it from this? It was just treated like an injury up until I took her to HSS in New York in April, which is one of the greatest. A young orthopedic surgeon, this young Indian woman, incredible, goes, I think this is autoimmune. And I said, I'm sorry, what? I said, no, the best doctors in the world have told me that this is normal when you're in prepubescent and you're growing in your growth plates. And sometimes an injury can be a long-term inflammation. Anyways, I'm going to land the plane here. It has been a really brutal time. We finally have a diagnosis. Lupus was just ruled out, thank God. But it's brutal. And of course, I'm going, why the fuck does my 14-year-old have this? Why?
For sure. And listen, this is part of why I wrote the book. I've been doing this long enough to have an opinion about a lot of things, right? And I can't get fired. I own my own job. I have a voice about all of this stuff coming together. And it's not that I made it up. It's really pulling the science together and really sharing what evidence-based material we actually have. So what your daughter, and I'm sorry to hear that, because it's traumatic, it's traumatic for the whole family, because it's not just your daughter living it, but it's the parents thinking that they did it to their kid. It's what they ate or what they drink or where they're living. It's got a ripple effect, and socially it affects her ability to move and run and play like a 14-year-old.
Well, there's a visual component to it. Her limbs are are huge. You know, I mean, it's really awful. But sitting in like the infusion center at UCLA next to some other children who would do anything to have this diagnosis, it puts things into perspective. I got to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. And listen, it's all relative. Everything in life is relative.
Yeah.
But for her world and her space and your space, it's really traumatic. And part of why I wrote this book was because I was seeing younger and younger patients experiencing autoimmune diseases that they would typically, if anything, get later in life. But these are what we call de novo cases. These are new cases with no family history. So environment plays a key role in the fact that epidemiologically around the world, we're seeing an epidemic of autoimmune and immune disorders. So not just autoimmune where your body attacks itself, but immune meaning like food allergies. I mean, when I was little, we took cupcakes to school, you know, it was never a thought that anyone would have allergies. Now that's sort of becoming the norm in many ways in terms of at least the setups and you know, reactions to many of the things in our environment. And look, they may be natural, like peanuts and eggs and that kind of thing, but our bodies are primed. And we're primed because we kind of have this in our bodies in terms of inflammation. Anyway, go ahead.
I was going to say there's an epidemic of autoimmune diseases, right? Everyone we know, not everyone we know, so many people we know, it's like this person has Hashimoto's and this person has Crohn's. And I have colitis. I've had colitis since I was about 20 years old. And it's been a major challenge in my life, you know, because every single time I ate for 15 years, I would feel sick essentially. And was obsessed with trying to figure it out. And that's really where my non-toxic journey came together, because I would see the top doctors and they would tell me it doesn't matter what I eat. Like you have an autoimmune disease. Anything you eat, your body thinks is a foreign object it needs to get rid of. It doesn't matter what it is. And nobody ever told me to be careful what I ate. And then I went and saw Stephen Gundry. I'm sure you know who he is. He wrote that book, The Plant Detox. No, the Plant
Paradox.
Plant Paradox. Thank you. And like taught me about lectins and all these different inflammatory things. And I tried that diet, but everything was so extreme, you know, and it was really a challenge. One thing I really learned is that calming my life down, getting older, getting settled in my life, my anxiety dropping down, dating chaos going away, all that stuff really, really put me into remission. Weirdly, was just like my life settling down. I don't know. There was like there's a huge correlation between, I'm assuming you'll know more specifically, between stress and an autoimmune disease, right?
You know what's also really hard is that these
That's her question.
No, I know, but I want to just say something before you answer that, which is it's so unfortunate that these conversations always result in blowback, meaning I'm sure there is like a natural way to deal with this. Just like some would say there's a natural way to deal with cancer. But anyone who speaks out saying like, oh, chemotherapy can kill you or this natural remedy can kill you, there's always blowback. So I'm just saying you attacked your colitis from a different angle. And that's all I was saying.
So ladies, what you're really sharing is a frustration that's really pretty pervasive. You know, if you want to go with one direction or another, there's blowback or you're not getting what you need even from that world. Look, Western medicine is great because I use all the medicines, right? I'm a rheumatologist. I use all of the biologics and I've been using them for years because guess what? They're a great set of tools. But it doesn't mean it has to be those first, reflexively used. And it doesn't mean that you can't incorporate what we know evidence-wise from food as medicine. And, you know, drinking water contaminants, understanding why they may piss off the immune system and affect the gut, you know, or how personal care products are not regulated in the US very simplistically. And what we put on our skin becomes part of our body because we're a sponge. I mean, I teach high school students with the same material that I teach medical doctors because it's the same material.
They never learned, right? Because in medical school,
we never learned, and we're not learning
exist.
now. It's not part of a really good, I mean, there's about 5 to 10 hours of nutrition that's now part of a 4-year physician training, you know, med schools. But environmental health is not even around. And I've even offered 40 some hours to 3 different med schools and they don't want it. So yeah, you know, that's a whole nother story. And this is why there are these physician, you know, programs that people are paying to learn more from what they did not get in medical school, or else there wouldn't be these programs popping up where I have to teach. You know, I'm teaching at these along with other physicians because we're trying to fill in the gaps of health and healing. And I'm not a wild child. I don't do really anything fringe. I really dive into the science. It's part of who I am. And I think when you can follow a line of reasonable people who kind of take the best of all worlds that are available for health and healing, even ancient practices like Ayurvedic and, traditional Chinese medicine, when you put it together in a very safe way, that is the best way to get outcomes. That's the best way to get results.
No,
So
I like
what would
that
you say? I just have a big question. I know it's a big answer and kind of what we're talking about here, but what would you say are the main factors in your mind in the huge rise in autoimmune diseases? And there's a part 2 to that question, which is I'm always trying to understand. I have a 1-year-old and I now am like putting into practice all the things that I've learned, and it's very overwhelming. And I now understand, like I've had judgments about parents giving their kids medication before. Now that I have a baby and I see how terrifying it is when they're uncomfortable and how quickly you just want to fix it. I understand that impulse. Like my daughter's never had a fever. She's only 1. She hasn't had a fever, thank God, yet. But I wonder to myself, I read a lot about how giving your kid Tylenol and dropping their fever down, it's impairing their natural immune system from doing what its job is, which is you have a fever, your body heats itself up, it kills off the infection. You continuously stop it from doing its job. That could be a factor in autoimmune diseases because it's tripping it up. And I want you to tell me if that's true or not. Should I be putting onions on her feet instead? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. This is the kind of question where you have to be balanced. Like, you got to get a fever down. Okay. Because the higher the temperature, the fever for longer periods of time, this is my opinion based on my training. I'm sure people will want to say all sorts of things, but the idea is that you really want to take advantage of the solutions in pharmacologic medicine as you can when you need them. You want to pull those when you need them. You don't want to necessarily be at harm, so fearful that you don't do those things and do natural things that have just as much risk if they're done improperly or invasive. So there's a real balance to all of this. And I try to convey that even in the book in terms of, look, I'm coloring I write 3 books on toxins and my hair is colored, as you can see, right? My kids play lacrosse on toxic turf, right? I have, information about turf that I post on my own stuff. I mean, the idea is that we live life
unavoidable.
Exactly. The point is, this is not about perfection. It's about being realistic and progress. And I really just, tell people that it's about a journey. This is not about freaking out, flipping out, going nuts. I did that 15 years ago. I have been through 15 years of a journey that went from, oh my God, what do I do? Making my own detergents, doing all sorts of things that I would not really do now because now we have better resources. We have better products. We know how to look things up safely. I put that in the book. You can also do it yourself with 3-4 ingredients for cleaning products. It takes 2 minutes. So there's lots of different options. The general rule is we have been living and evolving for over 4.5 million years as human beings. And we are now living in a world where only over the last 75 years have we had over 100,000 synthetic compounds created for all the stuff we love. And on top of that, the US does not regulate any of these chemicals really before they go into products that we use. So it's really like boom, boom, boom. We are messing with our environment, which is too aggressive and getting into measurably in our blood, in our urine, in our breast milk. And when you make changes, when you have different food choices or product choices, those numbers go down. And that lowers your risk for developing a whole host of things we know they're connected to. So you're essentially changing the destiny of your health if you make very simple, practical changes. That's really the take.
And so what would you say? I have an idea of what I think they probably are because I've made them. But what would you say are those kind of front of the line top choices to drop those levels?
First and foremost, what you are exposed to most. I like high yield changes. To me, that makes just a lot of sense, So things like food quality. I often say to patients, we know enough about processed and ultra processed foods. It's not a good idea because the food chemicals, over 12,000 of them, have never been really tested for safety. And the ones we do know may not be healthy and they've been grandfathered in. So thinking about the quality of your food to go with more whole foods, which are less processed, But then taking it a step deeper and then saying, oh, you know what? Actually, even fruits and vegetables have lots of pesticides. It's the way they're grown, fertilizer chemicals. Why don't we either clean them off so that we get off some of those residues with just vinegar and baking soda if we're buying conventional? Or why don't we, you look for USDA organic, which, by the way, happens to be the only regulation in the food system that has any value and any teeth.
Wow.
And that is a really strong statement.
It is.
Should we all be washing our fruit with vinegar and baking soda?
Well, vinegar, 1 part vinegar to 3 parts warm water, clean water,
I
or
have a
or
vegetable
baking
wash
soda.
that I got off of an
Yeah,
Instagram
be careful
ad.
vegetable washes though, because again, anything that's processed and made somewhere else may have stuff in it that you don't realize is in
Let
there.
me tell you which one I have, and you can tell me if you think it's clean.
Well,
I won't know it. I won't know it.
While you're looking, we need to dive into at some point in this episode the benefits of baking soda. I mean, there are like 5 million benefits to baking soda that we do not utilize. I just started
Vinegar,
brushing my teeth.
Baking soda, Castile soap, coarse sea salt for scrubbing. I have all this stuff in there, but it's really like what our grandparents used, right? It's stuff that was not adulterated with all these extra fragrances, which have phthalates and cause this stuff, or, antimicrobials. We need our microbiomes in our body. All these buggers that have been with us for billions of years, they need to thrive. They keep our immune system actually healthy.
Sorry, this is the one I get, and it has one ingredient, which is calcium oxide.
One active ingredient, look to the bottom and see if there's inactive ingredients, because that's a pisser. A lot of products will say active at the top, and then when you look in the fine print, it'll tell you 10 different things or more that are on the bottom.
Let me look.
I can't vet it out, but I will tell you the resources to do that is Environmental Working Group, EWG.org. They'd have a whole list of, cleaning products that they've rated based on really good science. Yucca, Clearia.
Yeah.
All of these
one people really like to use.
Yeah. So, there's so much available now in terms of doing the actual legwork. It doesn't take a lot of time. In fact, my teenagers, I have 2 boys, they have to look up their cosmetics and personal care and all that junk before we can buy them.
Okay, Erin, we're talking fatty 15.
When I think fatty 15, I think of you.
Okay.
I do.
What would it mean to you to know that there was a healthy aging product out there that could help your loved ones, your parents, yourself, reverse aging at the cellular level, resulting in improved...
It's all about the cells.
It's all about the cells, resulting in improved long-term health and wellness. We are talking to you guys about C15 from Fatty 15. This is the first of its kind, okay? It is the first emerging essential fatty acid to be discovered in more than 90 years. This is like a very...
By the way, the founder...
This is a scientific breakthrough, Erin.
Fascinating. So the co-founder is Dr. Stephanie Venn Watson. Okay, sounds very aristocratic. She discovered the benefits of C15 while working with the U.S. Navy to continually improve the health and welfare of aging dolphins. Isn't that cool? That's always how the coolest stuff is
Look,
found.
I'm going to just make it simple for you. When our cells do not have enough C15, they become fragile and they age faster. When our cells age, our bodies age too. So we are giving...
You have Sarah's attention.
You have my attention. Okay, but I'm going to just give you like the science-backed information. So studies have found that the new nutritional deficiency in 75 years, okay, this is groundbreaking science. It is called cellular fragility syndrome, and it is caused by a lack of C15. As many as 1 in 3 people worldwide now have low C15 levels and cellular fragility syndrome. That is aging us. Do you get it?
I really do get it. So Fatty 15, go get it right now. You will not regret it. So Fatty 15 is on a mission to optimize your C15 levels to help support your long-term health and wellness, especially as you age. You can get an additional 15% off of their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/Foster and using the code Foster at checkout.
Element, Erin. Element. Let's talk element.
Let's talk element. I love me some electrolytes.
I think we can just keep it pretty simple here. They have a new
Everybody
flavor.
uses Element. You're seeing it everywhere. It's all over TikTok. It's all over your friend group. It's all over my kitchen. It's everywhere. My friends use me as like a drug dealer for Element.
A lot of these electrolyte
I wasn't
drinks,
finished.
though.
I was about to say they have a new flavor called lemonade salt.
Yeah. A lot of these electrolytes have a lot of sugar in it. Do you know that sugar actually dehydrates you, which is why Element is really the only one you
Sugar
should
is
be
also
drinking.
just bad all around. And you don't want to take an electrolyte drink that has unnecessary added ingredients. Okay. You don't need fillers. You don't want fake colors. You don't want sweeteners. You want any of that stuff. You want to keep it simple. And Element is clean. And then their new lemonade salt. It's a very, very delicious flavor. It kind of feels like something you could have even with alcohol if you wanted to.
If you are deficient in electrolytes, you could be having headaches, cramps, fatigue, brain fog, so many things. Sometimes you just need to hydrate. And the best way to do that is with Element. I love this, honestly, first thing in the morning before I dehydrate myself with my coffee.
You want to rehydrate.
I do it first. Sometimes I'll do it first so that I'm hydrated and then
You hydrate, then dehydrate.
Yes.
That's smart.
And then I'll hydrate again later in the day.
Smart. Very smart. So right now, Element is offering a free 8-count sample pack of their most popular drink mix flavors with any purchase. This is a great way to find your favorite Element flavor or share with a friend. Get yours at drinkelement.com/Foster. This deal is only available through our link. You must go to drinklmnt.com/Foster.
Okay, mealtime is stressful.
It really is.
It stresses me out. Grocery shopping.
Noah's already 1 year old and I'm already like on the weekends, what do I feed her?
No, I know. It's not only is the whole grocery shopping thing overwhelming. All these grocery stores are packed. I get overwhelmed. I get things I don't need. I forget things I do need. That is why companies like Hungry Root are just making life so much simpler for everybody.
Yeah, they really
Okay, so they're going to take the stress out of mealtime. They're going to fill your cart and personalize all your meals. They're going to plan your week of meals. They are going to offer you
They're going to do it all.
They're going to do it all. They're going to offer you 15,000 quick recipes. They will be shipped to your door each week. Many of these meals, by the way, that they come up with are 15-minute meals or less.
Yeah, that's what you think. I take a long time to cook.
They are going to give you ingredients. They're going to give you things for your smoothies, for kids' snacks, for salad kits, ready-to-eat meals, supplements. They're going to do it all.
Also, Hungry Root has such high food standards. This is where I come in because this is what I care about. They are screening out over 200 additives. There will never be any high fructose corn syrup in any of the ingredients that they ever use. No artificial sweeteners, no preservatives. They source only the highest quality meat and seafood with no hormones, no antibiotics. They offer organic produce, non-GMO options, and they have trusty, healthy brands like Vital Farms and Ithaca Hummus and Harmless Harvest and many more.
They're just going to really tailor to your needs. If you are gluten-free, if you are paleo, if you are dairy-free, if you're looking to do a high-protein diet, they're going to tailor this for you. So they're going to put all your meals together. They're going to put all the ingredients together, and they're going to put it at your front door.
So take advantage of this exclusive offer for a limited time. Get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/Foster and use the code Foster. That's hungryroot.com/Foster. The code is Foster to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/Foster, code Foster. Okay, so step 1 is cleaner food.
Cleaner food. Think about organic, frozen organic. FYI, this is a fun fact. Frozen USDA organic is accessible across the country. So the argument that it's too expensive for everyone is really not panning out because big box supermarkets find it very lucrative to make their own. And it has to be certified with that circle with the USDA organic and has the best nutrition because it's flash frozen.
I've heard that frozen fruit and vegetables actually have more nutrients than fresh.
Really?
Yeah, because they get frozen right away.
Thank you.
I
They
saw
don't travel.
a video about that.
So are we just like upping our smoothies? Is that what we're doing?
I mean, frozen organics are so accessible. You can get almost anything now. You want to take them out of the plastic like you would anything like steaming bags you want to avoid.
Oh, yeah.
Just put them in glass and stainless steel or whatever. But there's so much we need to change up about our game because of the modern day food system. Because we need not just only to take away toxins, but we need to add in nutrition. That's a big component of the book is the chapter about what do we need to add into the human body that's been part of anthropology and evolution? As you can see, that's a big theme that has made us healthy for millions of years. It's basic nutrition that we're not getting consistently or even at the right amount because all these things are variable. Multivitamins can be terrible and all that stuff. So the idea is here's what you need basically to add in addition to trying to clean up diet and drinking water quality.
Do you guys think you can get everything from food? You don't even need supplements? Is there a world where you can get everything
No, I don't
you
believe
need?
that.
Okay, you don't believe that.
No, I don't believe it because the studies don't show that. It's not that I don't believe it even. It's actually that the studies show we're deficient in vitamin D and magnesium. Iodine, you mentioned Hashimoto's, Erin.
Mm-hmm.
Hashimoto's is so interesting to me because it's somewhat, I don't want to say preventable, but it certainly could have been modified by a nutritional component. See, iodine sits in the thyroid. We don't make it as humans. We have to eat it. We have to get it from outside the body. We actually give it, use it in breast milk. We have it in our own breast milk as mothers to feed children to have, benefits to brain health and those kind of things. But iodine is something no one eats anymore. No one consumes anymore. They used to add it to bread in the 50s because of this concern. It was a public health measure in the US, surprise, surprise. No one eats bread anymore. It was added to table salt. No one eats table salt anymore. It's sea salt, Celtic, kosher, and those don't have iodine. But iodine protects the thyroid gland almost like on a daily basis from a lot of environmental reasonable chemicals that are in a lot of stuff, because that clings to the thyroid gland more. So if you have enough iodine every day, just a very reasonable amount in a good multi, you are actually helping your thyroid be healthier. So these are the reasons I'm seeing young people on thyroid medication, mostly girls, but this is one of the things is that you can take away the chemicals, but you have to add the nutrition. That is what makes us
iodine
hardy.
is not something that I was aware of. That's fascinating.
I
Okay,
only know about iodine in the sense that people that have thyroid cancer, the treatment for thyroid cancer is an iodine treatment.
Yeah, there's different uses of iodine, but certainly here's a fun fact you may not know or you may, but when they do those movies on like nuclear fallout in Chernobyl, what do they hand out to anyone who's exposed to radiation? Iodine tablets. And the reason being, and they've been doing this for, 100 years. And the reason being is that they know that the thyroid gland is so superficial to the body. It's like the most outside gland of our human body. I mean, I guess besides, testicles. But the idea is that protects the thyroid from even radiation when you're exposed acutely to a big fallout.
That is fascinating.
So there's nothing else we should be eating with iodine. Just you're saying a multi. That's
no. Food. There's foods with iodine. I mean, seaweed like dulce and nori is good. There's routine. What else? Navy beans have them. Yogurt, Greek yogurt has some iodine. Seafood has iodine. But the problem I see and what's showing up is that people aren't consistent, and then the food amounts aren't consistent. So because of all those inconsistencies and variability in life is busy. I'm recommending a multi because I think that's how you get it in a consistent way where your body gets what it
most
needs.
Multivitamins have iodine in them?
No,
they don't. This is not being talked about enough.
And not only that, 150 micrograms is considered a pretty reasonable dose every day. So if it's like half of that or nothing of that, you're not even getting enough. And that's how a lot of these multis are kind of junk because they're a lot of things, but not enough of any one.
Okay, so you're a proponent of magnesium, vitamin D, iodine supplements on top of your healthy diet.
Well, a multi, and I go into this, like a good multi will cover so much.
Yeah.
I'm like a keep it simple, stupid. I have 2 kids. I'm busy. Like I've always thought about what is the cheapest way to do the best stuff? What is the least amount of work? Mm-hmm. So the 4 thing I talk about in the book, specifically what I call the fertilizer vitamins for human fertilizer. Like we're a plant. Like let's just, keep our bodies healthy with clean water, clean food, and just these supplements because that's enough to really be high yield. And a multi that's really well chosen, and I teach people how. It's not hard to figure out. No colors, no preservatives, no additives, good brands. That's really valuable. Magnesium really won't be in a good multi because magnesium can mess up people who have kidney problems because the kidneys are responsible for getting that out. So if you have chronic kidney disease, that's one reason why you might not want to have a lot of magnesium. But it shouldn't have calcium, magnesium, and iron because those 3 things are not for every human being. But a good multi should be for every human being, male, female, no matter what age, just basic nutrition. And then those other things can be added if you needed them. And also there's like 10 different types of at least magnesium. You don't want to take the wrong one or else it'll be on the pot.
I've been doing lipospheric magnesium.
I don't know what that is. Are you just talking about you mean liposomal, like that soluble? Yeah, that's a big thing, in order to absorb some vitamins better into the body. It's in a fatty component. But what I was trying to mention was that magnesium comes in different forms. Like there's magnesium oxide, which is used for like severe constipation. That's like Roto-Rooter. That's heavy duty. You want to be careful of that on your belly, especially if you already have belly issues. Whereas magnesium glycinate is probably the other extreme of doesn't touch your belly, but it's really good for your mental health and sleep and, some other stuff. But you don't want to take too much, but it's...
Is there magnesium citrate?
Yeah. Citrate is sort of that end also, where it doesn't really hurt your belly, but it's really helpful for a bunch of things.
I've been making my own homemade electrolyte drink. I have a non-toxic mom chat where we come up with all kinds of interesting things. And one of the girls on the chat, Isabel, came up with a homemade electrolyte drink that we've all been making, where you basically steep tea, like loose tea. It's like a fruit flavor, like a cherry tea or a strawberry or whatever, berries. And you add honey, like raw honey, magnesium citrate, Vera salt, which is like a brand of salt that's really clean and doesn't have microplastics and stuff, and lime juice. And you basically like steep it overnight and then put it in the fridge in like a big glass carafe. And you put like a little bit with the rest sparkling water, and it's delicious.
I love it. My first recipe in this book is literally the same idea with less work, but I love it.
Oh, I like the less work part.
The less work is just sea salt, has magnesium, calcium, chloride, and sodium, very balanced, won't raise blood pressure. So sea salt, Celtic salt, all of the unprocessed salts. So I say filtered water.
I should do your version, because honestly, my stomach's been getting a little like sensitive to this drink, and I've been wondering if it's from the drink. I took 2 days off.
Sounds
and I
like
feel
your
better.
mom chat is not doctors, just a bunch of moms who are just trying to come up with shit.
I never want to, downplay people's efforts, but I will say that, a very simple drink would be just filtered water, which I really believe that people undervalue in terms of exposure. That's a really biggie because filters are so cheap, especially the right ones. But water, lemon juice, sea salt. There you go. Non-toxic Gatorade or Pedialyte right there.
Guys, fun fact. I've been doing that for 2 years. I wake up because I drink black coffee. I do nothing. The first thing I do is water, few pinches of salt and lemon, and then I feel hydrated before I dehydrate with my coffee. I've been doing this for 2 years, and I didn't even need
salt from, because this is important, right?
Didn't even need your freaking chat. You won't let me on to even know about that. Mom got it at a farmer's market. It's a salt from the farmer's market she got me.
Maybe but Aly, you feel like it needs
any
to
sea
be
salt.
sea
Sea salt. I mean, whether it has, I had bought ones without the micro. That's like, interesting that they're moving in that direction. But really, any unprocessed sea salt. So that includes Himalayan, Celtic, kosher.
Okay, great.
Anything
that's
but
great.
Morton's. Morton's is where they extract just the sodium, and that's why it raises blood pressure.
But there's iodine in Morton's.
Correct. You bet. So that's where I'm saying there's a disconnect, because we think we're being really healthy, which is great, to do unprocessed sea salt because of all the electrolytes, which are great, but we're missing other components in the process. And I'm just trying to fill in those gaps.
Next, I want to be like teacher's pet right now, because I'm excited because this is my wheelhouse. So I would say the next things to look at are what you're cooking in, what cooking pans and pots you're using, making sure they don't have Teflon.
Are you the expert? What are you?
I'm just seeing if I'm right. Okay. What you're storing your food in, right? Plastic, storing food with hot food, and water bottles, drinking water out of plastic. I drink out of only glass.
All great. And listen, you prioritize whatever, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. I mean, I'm a big component. I mean, person when it comes to like water. That's really been my issue. And I think it's very unrecognized. But here's the thing. The easiest things you just described are just very easy things. Whereas water may be a lift for some. I don't think so. But
really, is getting a Brita filter not for everyone? That's like $18. Can't anyone get a Brita filter?
Well, those are carbon block filters. It's a big chunk of carbon. Water shoots through it really fast because it's convenient, right? You're on the go. Same with the refrigerator filter, that's carbon block, and same with the faucet, right? Anything that shoots through quickly is not going to take much off. What we should be thinking about in what I share in the book is really the different types, and all are good, but the best ones would be reverse osmosis.
That's one I have.
And that's because the material that's used to make this used to be an industrial level type of water filtration system that was only for big buildings and hospitals. And over the last 15 years, it's really been reduced in price. Like they're now $275. A plumber, if you want to put one in under your sink and make it very convenient, is like $150 for 1 hour to put it in. You can get them on the countertop, but reverse osmosis, just so you know what it is by definition, it's really a sieve. It's like a material where the pore size is so tiny that it's catching all of the bad guys. It's catching everything from infection issues, which is what it was used for when they used dialysis was developed in the 1970s. And then that's where they really originally used reverse osmosis, by the way, because my dad's a nephrologist. And then since that time, the machines have gotten smaller. So now for regular consumers, that RO filtration is still available, but it's so much cheaper. And it really catches everything because, the compounds that are considered plastics and phthalates and perfume chemicals, all those things that I talk about in the book, they're bigger in size than fungus, yeast, mold, virus, bacteria that caught back in those days. So reverse osmosis is just more accessible now than it ever was cost-wise, and it's just a better technology. And yes, it takes off minerals. I know you're gonna ask me that. Is it dead water? It doesn't have any minerals. Well, guess what? You have to take the baby out with the bathwater because it only knows size. And so then you can have a lovely lunch or dinner, get all the nutrition that you're looking for back.
I was just saying to a girlfriend of mine, I would like to just, I'm not a doctor, but I was just saying to a girlfriend, I was like, why does everyone have fucking cancer? Why is cancer as rampant as it is? And I was literally just saying to her, I was like, do we think it's the water? Like, what's the common denominator? What's the thing that we all have to do, that we're all doing? What is it? And I was like, I feel like it's the water. We're just two ladies talking. We're not doctors, but we were just having this conversation.
Well, if you want to know fun facts, water is a big contributor, but I talk about all of them as adding to the problem, right? We're a sponge for all of it. Cosmetics, personal care, feminine care products have tons of chemicals. I always insist people to think about tampons for a lifetime of use, right? We want to get that right. If you have a young woman in your life or whatever, older woman, the idea is that, we have different aspects that are coming into us, and it's really about thinking it globally. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get people to think of. Don't freak out about any one thing. It's more about globally moving through this process and doing it at your own pace. Water just happens to be the one thing that's irked me for a very long time because there's a zillion books on foods and macros and fats and carbs and protein. And, there's so much about diet and food, but no one's really thinking about water, which we drink so much more of by volume of our body, and we can't live without it. And our bodies are made up of water. 85% of our body is water. So if we're not really getting that right, a lot of these other choices seem a little bit, sort of lower on the level for me.
People get really distracted, I think, to your point about something like, for instance, when you think, oh, well, eggplant is inflammatory, so I probably shouldn't eat it. It's like, but how often are you eating eggplant? Once every 5 months at an Italian restaurant? Like, it's okay that time. Think about what you're having every single day, right? Are you putting oat milk in your coffee every day and it literally has like syrup in it and like heavy oils that are probably inflammatory? If you're putting that in your coffee every single day, that is going to affect you more than the eggplant you have at the Italian restaurant, right?
Yeah, habits. I mean, you just pointed out habits and volume. Like, again, back to the same idea that if you're going to try to work through some of these things, think about like your daily routine. When I have tea, I have my RO filtered water because it's easy. I just go into my kitchen and get it.
Wait, sorry, what's RO? Oh,
reverse osmosis. Sorry. Reverse osmosis, I put it in a ceramic, I use like organic half and half if I want that, and organic, loose leaf tea, so I don't get a lot of the tea bag plastics. I mean, again, all of this stuff didn't happen overnight.
Pods. Like I was using the Nespresso coffee pods for a long time, I'm thinking, oh, I've used the organic one. And then all of a sudden it dawned on me like 2 months ago, I was like, I'm a fraud. I'm not a real non-toxic person. No. I'm making my coffee every day in this fucking plastic and aluminum shit. And I was horrified. So now I do a French press, and it's like, I feel so much better about myself knowing that I'm using all glass.
Yeah. And if it's not the right time for you, I mean, I remember learning this stuff about flame retardants, especially California is like notorious for that and the laws that went down there. And I had a couch that I knew had flame retardants. Like I actually knew it had it in there. And for 4 years, we didn't have the money to just drop $3,000 when I had 2 little kids. And I was like, you know what? When the time is right, I will switch that out and get one that has no flame retardant chemicals. I really want people to think like that because I don't think that the stress involved with this topic is very beneficial to making cleaner habits.
You can when you. It's funny you say that because literally this morning I'm in the process of renovating a house, and this morning I emailed our designer and I was like, I need to make sure there's no flame retardants on all the fabrics that we're putting on all this like custom furniture. And I literally called this morning Perennials Fabrics in, I don't know where the hell they're located. And this lovely Southern woman answered. And I was like, can you tell me if you have flame retardants on your fabrics? And she was like, we don't. We test the flame. We test how flame like sensitive
Retardant.
material, how flame retardant they are naturally by putting them out in like desert environments and seeing how long they last in the heat or whatever, but we don't put anything on it. And I was like, thank you. I needed to know that because I'm about to put something on the banquette in my kitchen that we're going to sit on, 3 times a day, and you're breathing it in.
Oh, yeah.
So most people don't know to ask the
All right.
question.
So to all of our listeners, we want you to research getting a reverse osmosis filter. As we know, this is not something outside of the scope of most people's budgets. You can, don't get that pair of shoes. Yes, get the favorite daughter shoes, but don't go out to eat,
Get the water filter first.
Get the water filter before anything. This is numero uno, something you need to prioritize. Okay, we've got the food, we've got the water. What's the third thing?
Food, water, air is easy.
Oh, yeah.
Air is easy.
Oh, like air purifiers, you mean, in your house?
Well, just open it. Look, not buying synthetic air fresheners. They're not.
Oh my God. If you have a Glade in your house, you shouldn't even be listening to this. Okay.
And when
you should be listening to this.
And when I wrote this and I was talking about sort of my process, there was a morning that I read about phthalates. I don't know, it was 10, 12 years ago. And I remember going to the drawer downstairs in my kitchen that was literally filled with like 20 different plugins that I enjoyed buying, Ocean Breeze and pumpkin spice and I remember taking the whole drawer and dumping it after what I had read. And so
what about the little car trees?
Yeah. What about all the Ubers and whatever we get into now? My head's sticking out like a golden retriever.
Same.
I can't take it,
Once you become aware of it, it's the fragrance is something you become so sensitive to.
Yeah.
I know we just went on vacation and my laundry was being done for me and I smelled it and I was like, I can't wear any of this stuff. It all needs to be rewashed. I can tell you're using Tide, something scented. All my shit needs to be unscented. I'm always trying to figure out how to have, like we made a clean fragrance at Favorite Daughter. It's super, super important to me, obviously. So we made sure everything is phthalate free and all that. I just got my husband off of his cologne and switched him to something that's all clean. But like candles, can you I'm always trying to figure out how can you have enjoy the luxe things that you want in your life, but doing it in a cleaner way. That's where to me everyone just wants resources. Like my husband's rule to me is he's like, if there's something you want me to stop using, I'm fine to stop using it, but you have to give me an alternative that's just as good. Yeah. And so I have to find him a clean deodorant or I have to find him a clean fragrance or something. And then he'll test them out. And most people feel that way. Like I'll make the switch, but just tell me what to switch to. Tell me how to do it.
Yeah. And that's why I came up with the 4 A's. It's very simple. Assess, figure out what it is that's in your environment, 50 questions, then, avoid or swap, which is what you're, talking about. We don't need 100 different cleaners in our kitchen. That's avoiding, reducing, air fresheners, reducing, whatever. But we could also swap for things that we know are cleaner because they're vetted through toxicologists that are doing this well, like Environmental Working Group, Skin Deep Database, Yucca, Clearia, Think Dirty. And then the third A, it's assess, avoid. The third A is add, which is that nutritional component we are adding in, the sweating that helps us get rid of these chemicals, sleep, actually. We reduce our chemicals around our brain and spinal cord while we sleep at night. This is real science. That's the lymphatic system. So adding in nutrition, adding in supplements that are necessary only, adding in stress management, all of those things are so critical. And then the last one's allow, which is life, which is my hair coloring. It's the lacrosse games I'm going to later.
Listen, I color my hair too. I don't even think about it, by the way. I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And I should.
But I think you can prioritize whatever you choose that means something to you. I think that has value and it will stick. It's not a diet.
And the truth is that my message is going to get further if I'm blonde. Okay. If I'm a brunette, it's not going to be picked up. Nobody's going to pay attention because they're not going to want to know what I have to say.
Ipsy is the ultimate beauty subscription box. It just is. The amount of people that have written me
I know so many friends, kids, like teenagers, that's how they find skincare is by their Ipsy box.
Amazing for teens because they're going into these stores. They're spending way too much money. I put a stop to Valentina's beauty because they're obsessed.
She was going crazy.
They're obsessed. So Ipsy finds the most coveted beauty products, skincare, the most viral, all those things, and they curate it into one incredible box, starting at, are you ready for this?
I'm not ready.
$14 a month, which is insane. Okay, so you're going to take a quick beauty
And by
quiz.
the way, for $14 a month, you get up to $70 worth of products.
Yes, you're going to take a beauty quiz, okay? And then they are going to match you with all the products that fit your skin tone, your hair type, your makeup style. It's pretty genius.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're going to tailor that box to your specific needs.
Yeah. They carry some of the best brands. They carry Benefit Cosmetics, Elf. They just bought Rhode Cosmetics, Bare Minerals, Dry Bar. They have tons of stuff, and it's all curated based on your preferences.
There's no commitment.
Also, let's just be clear. There's an Erin and Sara Foster box.
There sure is. There's no commitment. You can cancel it anytime. But I would give this a try. Also, another great,
Get it for your teen.
Great
gift. Great gift for your
Great
teenage
gift
daughter.
for your friend,
Mm-hmm.
your wife.
So go to ipsy.com to get started with your first glam bag. That's IPSY.com, and you are going to be obsessed with what shows up in your mailbox.
Okay.
I love Nuuly.
Same.
I love Nuuly. First of all, favorite daughter works with Nuuly. We have exclusive pieces.
Why are you always trying to pimp favorite daughter?
Because we own the brand.
I know, but
We make some really great pieces for Nuuly. So Nuuly is a subscription clothing rental service, and it makes wearing your clothes, buying your clothes, it makes it so much easier. So basically every month you rent 6 items from Nuuly. They have a shared closet of thousands of styles for everything that you possibly could have going on. They have dressy stuff, they have casual stuff, they have outerwear, they have all the things. And they basically take care of everything from shipping to even doing the laundry. Okay. You can even pause without paying a fee if you just need a break because you're like, I'm going on vacation for a month. Like, I don't need it. You can pause for any reason. You have your choice of any 6 styles every month. So you can choose whatever you want to rent for whatever you have going on. Totally up to you. They have inclusive sizing up to 5X as well as petite. They also have maternity.
Genius.
So smart because you don't want to own your maternity clothes. You want to give them back.
No.
And you have the option to buy whatever you like at a huge discount. I mean, it's really such a smart way to not waste money on clothes.
Yeah, this company is on fire.
Also, guys, think about how sustainable it is to shop like this, okay? Nuuly orders, they are shipped in recycled, recyclable, and reusable totes. They never have any plastic packaging. The clothes are always cleaned using energy and water efficient methods, and the styles are repaired rather than thrown out.
You know what I think this is great for? People that have to go to all these weddings. This generation of people, they're always going to weddings.
You
There's
say that so negatively. Weddings are beautiful.
No, they are beautiful, but there's just so many, and you don't want to wear the same dress to the you can't do that because it's usually like the same cast of characters at these weddings.
You don't want to run into another girl in the same dress.
No, but you also don't want to run. You don't want to do a repeat. You want to have a fresh dress for every wedding you go to. So it's like, but that's not a dress you're going to wear again. So I would this is great for someone that is in their wedding era where all their friends are getting married.
Yep. Nuuly is a great value at $98 a month for any 6 styles. But right now you can get $28 off your first month of Nuuly when you sign up with the code FOSTER. Just go to NUULY.com. That's Nuuly with 2 U's and enter the code FOSTER and sign up to get $28 off your first month. That's NUULY.com. Nuuly with 2 U's with the code FOSTER. Nuuly subscription clothing rental. Change your clothes.
I had magnetic me when I had little infants. Life would have I would have been peed on less. I would have been less stressed. I'd probably have less gray hair. I'd be in a better place.
I mean, I use magnetic me. It's so easy. You just it's like you just let it even hover over the other side and it snaps itself together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know what's the bane of my existence? Buttons.
Oh, but who put
buttons?
The buttons. Why are there so many buttons?
Because guess what? I didn't anticipate how much Noah was going to despise getting dressed and undressed. Well, it's as if I'm ripping her skin off.
No baby is excited to have 10 buttons,
but it's so upsetting to her. So anyway, Magnetic Me is a great clothing brand where the enclosure are magnets. You don't have to do anything. They're just drawn together and they just close on their own.
People have written me saying it's ruined them now for other clothes because it makes you just so irritated by zippers.
Because by the way, buttons are annoying because they move around so much and they wiggle around so much. It's hard to button things. They have no patience. And then zippers bubble up and get stiff and awkward in their pajamas. And then that's uncomfortable.
But the outfits are for all ages, not just for babies, toddlers, when they get a little bit older, when they start wanting to dress themselves, it's super cute because when they're 3, they're not great at dressing themselves, but this makes them feel confident.
Yep.
Like I went and dressed myself. They have adult pajamas. It's a very cool brand.
It really is cool. So make changing time easier for you and your little one. Order Magnetic Me today. These also make a great gift for any parents in your life. New customers get 15% off your first order when you go to magneticme.com. Do not wait. Order today at magneticme.com. My next question for you, which is not as big of a conversation right now, but I wish it was, is EMFs, electromagnetic fields, right? I know that everyone says don't sleep with your phone next to your head. I get it. It's very hard not to. That's my alarm. I have my baby monitor on. By the way, the baby monitor. Like, should I be putting my baby in under like a EMF blocking blanket? I mean, I have EMF blocking headphones. I don't ever use AirPods. I always do wired in. Talk to me about EMFs because I feel like it's not as popular of a conversation because it's inconvenient.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, we can't see it. Whatever you can't see, no one worries about, right? If we could actually see EMF radiation, we would actually be like horrified. Just like if you could see half the chemicals, if not more, that are in what we use, you'd be horrified. But, again, I have a cell phone. I'm on a computer now with you. I think that there's a certain level of concern. We should, there's definitely data showing that EMF radiation can be harmful, especially closer to your body.
Well, isn't it? It's like in the pamphlet of your iPhone.
Yes. You go to general and it'll say give a certain distance.
Yeah, like it should be like 3 feet from your body or something. And we have it up to our heads.
Yeah, because the original testing for these, for EMF radiation was literally done on a 200-pound man. And so the distance is, gauged by that size of a human being. And in fact, we are smaller and kids are specifically can be more affected. Even their brain size and their brain, the ratio of the skull size to their brain is actually different than adults. So that's why they're considered more vulnerable when they put the phones to their head. But a lot of people don't do that anymore. But just keep in mind, radiation, first of all, microwave radiation is what we're talking about. It's the same type of radiation that's in a microwave, that we cook with, right?
Yep.
The
I've never used my microwave once, but yeah.
Well, but microwaves are a box. They're called a Faraday box in chemistry. And the idea is that it's protected because it's in a box. The fact is that we're sort of walking around inside of a microwave in general because it's all around us. But the general rule with EMF radiation is distance to your body. So when I walk into my kids' high school and I see a zillion kids sitting there with laptops right on their groin, I get really concerned because it's really... You want that distance to be on a table. You want it on a chair. You want that distance away from your body because
I'm always taking Sarah's kids and putting a pillow under them or something. Now, does it help at all? I mean, this is what I have in my mind. This is not data driven. This is just my instinct, but I could be wrong. I always keep my computer on my lap with my leather case underneath it in my mind, thinking it's blocking. Somehow.
Yeah, it's better than nothing for sure. There are certain pads that you can get that I think are just gimmicks, but for sure, what you're doing is you're blocking that radiation as much as you can. But really, the most valuable material is actually copper, and they make these like little copper pads that are like not a big deal. So they're sort of like distracting the radiation away.
What about those little stickers? I had like a little copper sticker or something. And then I saw some video that was like, you're just going to bounce it back.
Yeah, there's a lot of gimmicks, like even having like a necklace and all that stuff. I haven't seen the data on any of that being of value. And even your phone, by the way, when you put a case on it, the signal from EMF towers ping at about 90 beats per second to the antenna on your phone. And so it's dinging like this, right? If you put a case on, that radiation is going to find its way to the antenna any which way it can, and in fact, raise the radiation exposure. So what you really want to do is not have a case, but put it on airplane mode whenever you can, because that, in fact, is the way you really shut off the EMF connection.
When I hear there's no data on
no
it.
data, I'm trying to figure out what's the no data on.
I think what she's saying is like it's so shocking to her that there is like not enough data on this stuff because it's such a big issue.
Yeah, and I will tell you, I'm picking up my second book here where I have an entire chapter on explaining what it all is and where the data is, and it's like 1,000 references. So the fact is that there's plenty of data that, again, we're not being told about it because it doesn't make its way into, our social life and our it's just not a sexy topic. People don't want to hear that their Wi-Fi stuff can be harmful, but it's not. my argument is not that you don't need to use it. It's really how you use it. It's like,
Do you have like a shut off button at your house at night? Because some people do that. They shut off the Wi-Fi when they sleep.
I think that's a great idea. Do I remember to do it? No. I mean, the idea is my life is too busy to remember. And then in the middle of the night, as if I get calls or something that I need, I'm not going to have that necessarily cellular. I could use it. But, you know, the idea is there's lots of, in fact, schools in France have cut off Wi-Fi in schools, not just because of social media, because they really do understand some of the effects of EMF radiation. And there is plenty of data, though I will tell you this. In fact, if you want a resource, and you can tell everyone now, it's Environmental Health Trust, EHTRUST.org is a wonderful group. And they really focus on on EMF radiation. And it's well, you know, deep into the science. And there's no agenda, you know, they're not coming from a place where there's making money. It's really an education advocacy group. So
and this has got to be a real factor in fertility. I mean, I watched I looked at a study. This is a very weird study, but it was this is not about EMFs, but about fabrics that we put on our body. And it was a very bizarre study that was done with 30 dogs. Okay. I don't know if you saw this, 30 dogs. And I sent it to my fertility doctor. They put 15 of them in polyester underwear for a month and 15 of them in cotton underwear for a month. And at the end of that month, all of the dogs wearing the polyester underwear, their sperm count went down. And it was an indication of what happens when you put a synthetic fabric close to your body while you're sweating, exercising, on your breast tissue, near the ducts in your armpits, on over our ovaries. I mean, it has a real effect.
So the answer is, I have to say, because as a researcher, I would say I haven't seen the study. I can't really comment to that specific study, how it was set up, who ran it, all that. But here's the thing. It's in line with what I'm trying to share. So I think I can't say that study, but I will say that our environment has played a big role in all of the exposures, and whether or not it's fabrics to some degree, maybe one day, not another. Maybe it's the food you pick that day versus another, versus, you know, the shampoos, conditioners, or the water you're drinking. If you think about all the inputs and how it affects not just getting into your blood, but also into your gut microbiome and affecting how the gut microbiome works in terms of the microbes, there's just different mechanisms. But the idea is we are living in a modern day world where we don't have the ability to necessarily shut off all inputs, but we can work on it. And it's not perfection, but it does seem to make a big difference in our levels in our bodies. So,
well, I suggest for everyone to wear cotton underwear and make your husbands wear cotton underwear and wear cotton bras. I think that would be a really good step. I recently went on a mission to find organic cotton underwear. I ended up buying stuff from Pact, PACT, because it was affordable and they do organic cotton, and also my exercise clothes. Because the more synthetic fabrics that are in there when you're sweating and working out, your pores are open. I mean, there's a lot of microplastics in all the workout gear.
Yeah,
and so I use
Erin, I think
the
these
label.
are great suggestions, and I talk about them as well. But I prioritize so people don't flip out. But that's certainly on the list.
I was about to say. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to buy some like cotton, you know, underwear from like tree bark. You know, it's like I think there are
Sarah,
levels.
you can buy cotton underwear. I mean, underwear being cotton is pretty simple.
I'm just saying, like, there are levels. I do think that there is a real, and I want to know from you guys, since, I mean, you know, Erin's way more in this than I am. There is a real resistance to, like, people say they want to live cleaner, but people don't really fully even know what that means. People kind of are very married to their lifestyle. It's hard to make switches. Obviously, we're giving people real tangible, easy ways. Your food, put a water filter and things like that. But why do you think there is such a resistance? Is it that there's just lack of education? Is it that people think it's too expensive? Is it that people aren't seeing immediate side effects to the toxins? So, like, what is the resistance?
America's probably the last ones to get in line.
I mean, Erin, you're the 0.01%, I think. I mean, obviously, you know, Aly's a doctor, but you as just like a normal person, normal mom, you're very niche in this.
So I think all of those points actually work, Sara, because number one, you have to know the why to do the what. And honestly, if you know generally what the why is and how it's based in science and literally robust over the last 25 years in many of these topics, if not all of them, I think the why will make people move forward to the what. People also don't like change, right? Humans don't like change unless they gain weight or they're in pain or they look ugly.
That is so interesting.
There we go. Now we're getting into the shit that I like.
But it's true. I mean, look, I mean,
so true.
we really, I'm not saying it in any derogatory way. I mean, I'm part of the human race too. I will say that people don't motivate unless they have a reason to do so. Look, some people, they get a diagnosis that scares them so deeply, either or their family members, that they start to make change and want answers. That's what happened to me with my dog, right? But most people cruise through life, and if it doesn't bother them or cause them trouble or give them a rash, they just go on with status quo. And I'm here to say that, guess what? Even though it doesn't smack you in the face, these chemicals potentially can be harmful at low levels over time that you're doing repetitively, because we can absolutely measure them in our body fluids. We can measure these things. And if you're filled with them, and we know that in animal studies, occupational studies, and epidemiologic studies, these chemicals can cause these health effects, immune, hormone, whatever, fertility, weight gain, all of those things, then why not just simply make simple switches to get them out of your body?
Okay,
That
so
is the
asking
connection.
about
Yeah.
vanity stuff, like Sarah was saying, like we dye our hair, right?
Yeah.
What about Botox? Because I'll be honest, I do. I mean, I don't do it once every 2 years, but I do it, and I would love a natural alternative. But like these wrinkles just like aren't going in. I mean, they just like won't go away. What do you think?
So we don't know. I mean, I will tell you this. I don't do Botox, and I don't
you look
really
great.
care, but that's my, thank you. But
You don't
I will
have the
tell
two
you,
lines I have.
no, but here's the thing. I'm not judging anyone's use of fillers and Botox. What I would say to you as an immune disease specialist is that the body doesn't want things in it that it doesn't recognize. Whether it's Botox or the fillers that go with it or the chemicals that go with it, whether it's, implants, whether our bodies are working as they should. The human body is freaking amazing. And when we have an inflammatory response, it's typically for good reason. Typically. What happens is these chemicals, anything you put into your body is considered a foreign body. And so the idea is that you have to decide what's worth that, potential trigger that could happen. But, and not everything does cause a reaction. That has a lot to do with your genetic predisposition as well. And your lifestyle. Are you sweating? Are you moving? Are you sleeping? Are you eating clean foods? Are you having the nutrition that offsets some of the harm from these chemical exposures?
I have a stupid question, you guys. It's a really stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. If the human body is so perfect, which I believe that it really is, why was the life expectancy before all these chemicals were introduced and all these life-saving drugs and all these, foreign things was like 27? I mean, I get it. There was infection and, men were off at war and all those things. But like, if the bodies are so perfect when we were living without all these toxins, why were people not living long?
Well, the lifespan up until about 100 years ago was actually better by a couple years per sex, by a couple years. I mean, we're talking about nuances here. But here's the thing. We are living as a culture longer but we're living sicker. You get that? Like that's really the general feeling, is that we're living longer, but we're living with chronic health conditions, lots of medications, office visits. Our sickness, if you look at the lifespan, what we really want to do is consolidate our sick years and our end of life years to be very, very small compared to a life well lived and less sick, right?
Right. And
what we're seeing now is sickness starting younger. Yeah, we're starting younger with sickness. And so we might live longer, but what is the quality of life? What is the pain levels and medication? That's a choice that we're sort of making by living in a world that, has procedures and, implants and some of the most miraculous things on earth, right? But I'm arguing that because we're getting so much chronic health conditions, diabetes, obesity, we're having fertility issues, we're getting autoimmune diseases and immune disorders. We're starting our sickness journey at a much earlier time period than we would like.
So true.
And
that's 100
what
years ago, all food was organic. It just was organic. They weren't spraying shit on everything.
And we didn't have all the food additives, which independently are loaded in for mouthfeel and color and shelf life. And,
don't even get me started on the food dyes and all this stuff. I mean, the way that we are behind, the way that food that is illegal in countries in Europe to put in anything is what we are giving our kids at school is really alarming. And I think California is trying to pass legislation right now to ban foods that are banned in Europe.
Yeah. Oh, this is happening in a slow, reasonable way. Let's hope. But my stance on all of this,
I find it to be very unreasonable. I think we should have embraced this 15 years ago.
But you know what I've been saying? I've been through, it's 15 years I've been doing this work since I really got into this, right? And I have been through 4 presidents, 3 HSS directors, and there's been some modest regulatory changes, here and there. But I've never said, wait for anyone to save us. My whole work, everything I post on The Smart Human, everything I write about, everything I teach is about doing it for yourself in the way that you feel comfortable, but that we cannot wait to be saved and we cannot wait for regulations to... Even a regulation like red dye number 3, if that goes into effect where it's banned, it'll take 2 years before any manufacturers are required to actually put that into action. Then there's also thousands of other chemicals that we wish
then you
we
have
could
red
have
20 or whatever.
Right. Yellow number 6 and red number 40. And then we have, other parabens and other things that are food and makeup.
Why does it happen like that? Why are we looking at red number 3 instead of just looking at artificial food dyes across the board? Like, why aren't they lumped together?
Because the science for each is limited. I mean, think about it this way. Who's doing the research for these studies? It's third-party academic centers, right? It's not manufacturers are not required to do this. So we have to wait for grant money, which, is getting cut off. I have to say, research-wise, we're losing a lot of really important grants that do the studies of environmental health, interestingly enough, right?
And I'm sure they're trying to be blocked by big conglomerates who profit.
That's
off
a whole nother...
all of us being sick. That's why when I hear there's really no data on that. Well, it doesn't mean it isn't true. It just means that no one's put the money in to find out if it's true or not.
But we do have a lot of data to just, it just doesn't get out there. I mean, remember, we're at the whim of whatever is published and makes headlines. The real issue is really what's on PubMed.org. And any one of you and your listeners can literally go on PubMed.org. Everyone has access to medical literature and type in, food dyes and, whatever, ADHD or food, and you sort through. I mean, it's not to say that every study is well done. It's not to say that everyone is against food dyes in science, but, this is why it's complicated. You really want to figure out who your messenger is, where the science is coming from, who's been paid to talk about those studies or promote them. It's a deep dive. It's not easy. It's not easy for me, and I've been doing this a while.
Do you believe all these integrative medical doctors out there that I follow or that believe that there is a cure for cancer, that it is out there, but that, this country profits off us being sick and profits on us, all those things? I mean, maybe you don't want to answer that.
I will tell you that I believe in medicine, and Western medicine is phenomenal in so many areas. I can't, my patients would be suffering greatly if they didn't have really great pharmaceutical therapies if they need them. And if you have cancer and you have some, urgent care and you need serious medications and you need things, Western medicine has been a wonderful situation for so much. What's missing is just understanding the other aspects of human health
to stop you from having to get to that.
Like it's like we have really, available stuff here for disease diagnosis and treatments if we need them pharmacologically, but we're missing all the stuff that leads up to illness in terms of prevention that we could get involved with. It doesn't mean everyone's going to stay healthy. It just means that we're not even trying. We're not even really
that there's a connection between all of this stuff and the skyrocketing rates of autism?
Oh, that's a tough question. Well, I'll tell you what I know. In utero exposure to a lot of these chemicals is worrisome. And that
why is it so controversial to talk about autism?
Because it's very complex. I will say that, honestly. It's a very complex situation because there are some hereditary components. There's, biological components. There's lifestyle components. Then there's in utero exposures where, they're checking cord blood. EWG did a famous study and lots more followed where they look at cord blood of a newborn and they find that it has up to, 200 industrial chemicals in the cord blood itself. Mm-hmm. And this is all different mothers with different, lifestyles, right? So it's kind of like everyone can be involved, whether it's air quality. We're kind of all at risk, right? Mm-hmm. But I always say that things are very complex, and it's true because there's no direct cause and effect with a lot of these exposures. It's associations, but strong associations. But the fact that you have an in utero exposure of any, not just one chemical, but a multitude, what we call mixture studies of many chemicals, right? In humans, in the fetus as well as adults, like all of us are walking around with mixtures. Not only that, we have medications
nothing's more
too.
vulnerable than a fetus.
Right. Well, when you're talking about 240,000 neurons growing per minute in a fetal brain, there's potentially a lot of risk there when you're laying down brain tissue, when the brain is turning into, its IQ in terms of brain development, in terms of intelligence, in terms of sexual dimorphism, male, female, in terms of body parts changing male, female. I mean, that's not even, you can have different connections there. There's so much good studies. In fact, phthalates are some of the most well-studied in utero exposure. Dr. Shauna Swan, she was on Joe Rogan, did a great job. She wrote a chapter in my textbook, and she's like these are real solid science academics. She does a great job explaining this. And,
isn't there some data around it? This probably is very controversial, but isn't there data around studies that have been done about microplastics and gender dysphoria and like changing genders in frogs or something with exposure to microplastics?
So atrazine was used, not so much plastics that I'm aware of. There's the work of Tyrone Hayes. He does YouTube videos. He had TED Talks. So he was studying frogs and exposure. He was actually hired by the companies that made atrazine to see whether or not exposure to these pesticides would affect frogs in this local area. I'm not sure if it was California or where it was. And he actually found out that it was actually making male frogs turn
male to female. Female to male.
Actually have both sets of eggs and sperm, and basically have all sorts of changes. And I'm not doing him justice with this description, but the idea is that it was very shocking. And then they spent a lot of time really hunting him down and trying to close down this study, really just horrible stuff in terms of the chemical industry not wanting this material that he discovered revealed. And that's, it's just a well-known study.
So
a well-known story within scientists.
And so that's still what's being sprayed on conventional food,
Yeah, atrazine
right?
is one of the most commonly sprayed pesticides, particularly in the Midwest. Same with glyphosate. Glyphosate is certainly one of the most widely used herbicides nationally. It's being phased out of residential homes in usage, and it's also being phased out at certain parks, like New York City is phasing it out. And there's major lawsuits about glyphosate. And yes, glyphosate, people argue that is like, oh, it can't hurt you. And but we have too much information on this now. And I can give you references for your audience as well.
Doctor, is there any direct evidence around the cause of, my daughter's juvenile arthritis? Is that just sort of like luck of the draw, disluck of the draw? Is there data around this?
That feels like a personal phone call you guys could make.
Yeah, I think we might have to handle that because there's so much more I would ask of her history. I mean, that's the thing about this is that you really, another thing I'm trying to teach physicians is
I did drink NyQuil when I was pregnant.
Oh, how dare you? How dare you?
No, I drank like a lot of NyQuil. I was really sick and I didn't know I was pregnant. And I've been like, oh, it was the NyQuil.
Let me tell you, I spent a lot of time talking to people about this topic. And the one thing I make sure I hit home is that there is no regrets to this conversation. There is no shame. This is not about I should have done better because that's backwards. It's about how do you move forward? I did a lot of stuff when I was pregnant. I had drop-in, plastic formula things. I was heating plastics up. I didn't know any. Oh, by the way, I write about in Detoxify my book how I drive up to McDonald's every morning, like 5 months pregnant, having deluxe breakfast on hot plastic. You want to learn about all of those, potential regrets, you can read it in my book, because if I can do this, anyone can do it. But the idea is that it's about taking that same energy and putting it towards very reasonable things moving forward. And in terms of your daughter, guess what? Juvenile rheumatoid actually has a very good prognosis overall. I mean, I can't speak to her case specifically. And the medications, believe it or not saying that that's something that, is her.
No, we're doing full Rinvoq. Listen, I try to be holistic, but I'm like, this is not an area to be holistic. I'm like, give me that Rinvoq and give it to me now.
And that is fine. And also adding in the right nutrition, adding in the right habits. And my teenagers don't want to listen to me. I mean, you don't want to hear about my story because my kids walk through the kitchen with cologne and you could just pass out, right? So you have to pick your battles. But what she learns about her body and nutrition and environment and tampons and all this stuff will be part of her life for her whole life. And she will be able to choose better and have agency over her own body. And that is why this needs to get into high schools. That's what I'm working very hard to do.
Oh, well, that's
we can
amazing.
teach people young how to choose water filters and think about water and not think about, plastic water bottles and avoid that as much as they can. And, think about stress and think about radiation and how they utilize that throughout their lifetime and what they eat, what they drink. It's not like they're going to ever be perfect. No one's perfect. This is not about perfection. It's about doing the best you can in the situation we've created for ourselves.
There's no world where anyone should ever eat these packaged deli meats, right? I mean, these things should be like outlawed, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm hard at, look, I never am like that because, we all cheat. Everything is fluid, right? But I will say if you can avoid processed meats, it's probably a good idea because it has a lot of nitrates and sulfites. And these are like preservatives. The plastic container, can't always avoid plastic.
Yeah.
Everything's in plastic. But
I feel like this episode is great for so many people because, I think a lot of these conversations you find with different types of people hosting, right? People that are really just like so deep in this wellness journey, and some are looked at with maybe through a lens of people, I don't know, but Erin and I are just normal moms. We're just normal moms.
I'm a normal mom.
You're a normal mom. She's more holistic than I am. Like I live a very toxic life and
Sarah's a very toxic person.
in a lot of ways, but I want to be healthy and I want my kids to be healthy. So this is just so eye-opening for me too. And I think is going to be really eye-opening for our listeners who don't necessarily connect with some of these other conversations that people have because it just goes too above their head. And we're still trying to teach people like, guys, this is real. This is not some hippy dippy conversation. Like this is real.
And I really respect, Aly, that you only speak to things that there's real data around.
I really do.
Same.
I stick to the science. And listen, I don't sell anything. I got no powders and shakes, but probably should. I'm not making any money doing all that. The reason I say that is because if you have, I'm trying to get this into real places that have real value. And I really do believe in this work. I wouldn't be doing it this long. And, if people are interested in tipping their toe or dipping their toe into this topic, and I'm going to say the book, I'm not going to be shameful about promoting the book. The book is my life's work.
Of course.
And I want people
is accessible information.
And I don't share brands endorsements. I want people to know the resources that people manage that do it really well. And products change formulation and whatever changes, you want those resources to be valid. You want to be able to do a 21-day plan in a very reasonable way and not freak out. You want to be able to do this without feeling like if you don't do it, you're going to die or you're going to cause problems or get this or get that. You want it really positive, empowering, and well, entrenched in the science.
Do you guys ever struggle?
You've won me over. I will buy your book.
Do you guys ever struggle sleeping just with the mental idea that we're sleeping in like a Wi-Fi radiation box?
I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it
I'm
occurs
now
to me.
realizing, what I'm thinking about while we talked about this? I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm addicted to sleeping next to my phone while it's charging. So I'm going to have made a copper like divider that I sleep next to that will be between me and my phone. Like just like a little copper divider. That seems easy, right? Sell it on Amazon. And then my phone's on the other side of it.
I don't know if you guys are at the age.
Or like a copper box.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I have to pick my poisons, pick my, I think that's a little extreme. I think turning off Wi-Fi at night if you can get away with it. But when you have older parents, when you have a teenager that's driving around and you want to make sure they can get in touch with you, you can't really put it on airplane mode. But what I do is I put it 3 feet away from me, So there's ways to manage in a very reasonable way. But there's also
stressed out the fact that my daughter, who is a baby, has been sleeping, a few feet under a freaking high definition camera this whole time.
I did my kids came out fine and they were under high definition camera. Okay. I mean, don't stress about everything. Work in a way that's reasonable. I'm not meaning to scare anyone about anything. I think that
trust me,
your questions are excellent. Your concerns are excellent and they're all valid, but just work through things in a way that's like empowering. It's gamifying. You're in control.
But isn't Sarah's idea about a copper box really like that's pretty chill? Like maybe they have them on Amazon. Like you just slide your phone into it.
It's easier probably just to turn off your Wi-Fi than worry about a copper box.
But then you don't have Wi-Fi at night because you got to be on those cameras.
Okay, Erin, take her to lunch. I want to ask about sunscreen. I want to ask about a sunscreen. Can we talk about sunscreen?
But we also, Sarah, we are winding down. Just letting you know, we are.
My son is texting me. Where are you, Mom? Wait till your kids.
Sarah, I was wrapping this up.
Wait, but we haven't even gotten to audience questions yet.
Erin? Okay, we can keep going. I mean, Sarah, he's going to be pissed. I'll just blame it on you guys.
No, Sarah, we really are to the end.
Okay, fine. That's my last question then, and then you get to ask your last question. Can we do that?
I had my last question.
Okay, can we then end it with sunscreen? Is that boring? I just feel like everyone's talking about it. We all need it, but it's now everyone's saying it's bad for you. I don't know.
I have way more controversial questions, but I'll have to text them to you.
Yeah, no worries. So I'm a fountain. I'm ready to go whenever you want. Okay, so sunscreens, really interesting stuff. We don't want avobenzene. We don't oxybenzone. Those are the two that have been, can get into the bloodstream. You want things that stay on the surface of your skin. It used to be just, the two were titanium dioxide and zinc oxide, right? But now titanium dioxide has a little bit more controversy since it was found to be a little problematic when it's in food. Now, you're not eating your sunscreen, but some people would say, maybe I'll just stay away from that and just stick to zinc oxide. Remember, like back in the day, lifeguards had a white nose. That's zinc oxide, right? That's topical, stays on the surface, blocks the sun, doesn't get absorbed. You want to avoid nanoparticles because you don't want these little suckers in your body getting anywhere, right? Nanoparticles are really, really tiny components of anything, whether it's plastics or what have you. So you don't want those in your body. So you want to stick to and try to avoid aerosolized sunscreen because a lot of times we breathe that stuff in no matter what. So, look, my kids hate this, the lotions. They want the spray. They're sports guys. They need the sports. There's ways to look all these things up. Go to EWG. And you can do drop downs on the computer. They have an app that's free, but I think it's easier when you're looking I found a body tanner. I'm like white. I'm in New Jersey. Like my skin is so.
By the way, Salty Face. That's the one that I just recently found. Salty Face is an amazing one and it's clean.
Yeah. And be honest, I found a great tanner when I go to a massage parlor. If I want to get a massage, I'll take one that's got a 1 or 0 in EWG. I give it as gifts with a massage, gift card. I mean, what a great gift, and you can walk around with this stuff and not feel like you have to run to the shower. I mean, there's all these hacks that become part of your life. When I get a manicure, pedicure, if I get them, you want the base coat to be a 1, right? That way, at least the one layer that's touching your body is cleaner. So I bring it with me.
So is gel polish just gel? My gel is just, it's like I'm a monster, right?
No, you're not a monster. Please take that out of your.
She is.
No, but here's the thing. I want you to think, what is touching my body? What am I breathing in? What's in, on, and around my body? And how can I do slightly better? If you look at how things are touching your skin, you just look it up. It takes 2 seconds to find these products. So if you get into the habit, you just get like 10 or 12 personal care products, you're done,
Yeah, and I believe in being I am very proudly now at my age, the person who will go to a manicure or pedicure and say, here's the, I brought myself some almond oil. Can you use that instead of your Lubriderm lotion?
I do the same thing. I bring my lotion.
I don't need your Lubriderm on my body. I don't need it. I want you to use.
I bring my water to
oil.
dinner. I just fill up at home. I don't want anyone's water. I don't know where that water's coming from on the table.
By the way, our very healthy 74-year-old mother, just FYI, Erin, used Lubriderm her whole life. So, I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's not bad, and I'm not telling you to buy Lubriderm. I'm just saying our mom is like the healthiest person alive.
Well, and you don't have evidence she used Lubriderm her whole life. She's like the person who taught me how to be non-toxic.
Call her. She used it for 20 years of her life. You know what I'm devastated we didn't talk about and we'll have to have you back for is oral health.
Ooh.
That is something not enough people are talking about. So I guess we have to do that next time.
Okay, Aly.
Yes.
I am going to get your book. Everybody else needs to get your book. And I wish I just could text you questions all the time. Okay, your book is called Detoxify the Everyday Toxins Harming Your Immune System and How to Defend Against Them. You also did a TED Talk, How to Protect Your Kids from Toxic Chemicals. I think that's really interesting. And you're also the co-author of Nontoxic Guide to Living Healthy in a Chemical World. Everybody needs to go follow Aly, which is you're at The Smart Human, and buy her damn books and take up all her ideas and advice. Get yourself together, people.
Listen, you guys are awesome. I love talking to you. I feel like I need a drink just to hang out, being young again.
And a glass of wine.
But yeah, no, listen, you guys are doing great stuff. And I appreciate you inviting me on because it's your people that I feel like need to, get hearing this stuff. It's not extreme. It's not crazy. It's just reasonable, based in very reasonable science. That's it. That's the messaging, not to freak out, but to do it in your own pace.
Well, don't worry. Everyone steals our guests, so you'll be getting calls, I'm sure, from other people.
It's so true. Yeah, you're going to
Just
find
wait.
yourself on other big shows
That's
now.
great. That's how it works. Knowledge is power, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Well, in this case, we're very happy about it. I'm going to start following you, The Smart Human.
Same.
thank you.
Thank you so
All right,
much, Aly.
guys. Be well to everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.